Welcome to the February 10th Jail and Zones production user call. We have Jan, Mark, Katya, and myself, Michael, so far. And Jan, you have posted a universal jail.conf on the FreeBSD wiki. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So historically, the FreeBSD jail subsystem initially didn't even have a configuration file. Then in FreeBSD, I think 9, it gained, or 9.2, sorry, it gained support for the jail.conf file we still know today. But it was still a monolithic file, so you had to put everything in one file, which is just annoying to maintain. Eventually, Antranik implemented a little hack in the jail rc.d script to search for a jail-specific configuration file so that it felt as if the jail command had support for multiple configuration files. But what really happened is that the jail command is run with a different configuration file for each jail. So you couldn't share any default values between jails and so on, and you lost the ability to track dependencies. The proper solution was finally implemented in FreeBSD 14.0 when we gained the .include syntax of the jail command. Um, which Jamie kindly implemented.
Indeed.
The best thing about the .include is that you can now have a global etcjail.conf, which just includes your jail-specific configurations, and you can do that recursively. I think the recursion limit for the stack depth is 32 levels of inclusion or something, just so that you don't um, accidentally crash the jail command if you have some kind of um, include loop. Um, yeah, that works. And the idea here is that you first try to include the jail.conf from user local etc.
Yeah.
Um, so this uses a glob which matches only one path, namely the jail.conf in user local etc. Um, but because it is a glob, if it doesn't match, it's not an error. So you can always basically put a single letter which doesn't have a special meaning in brackets, or the glob syntax uh, in brackets, and then you have try include statement basically. Next, it tries to include the jail.d directory, and it does so by including anything ending in .conf. And if there are subdirectories ending in .d, it tries to include the jail.conf from that directory. These two levels of indirection are useful because sometimes your jail is trivial and is best kept in a single file. Then you use the second include here. Uh, but if you want to have a more complex jail, where you need additional files to go with the jail, for example, I don't know, for a VNet-enabled jail with WireGuard, maybe you want to keep the WireGuard configuration, you inject to your jail in your jail configuration directory and install it on every jail start. Or you need some certificate, or I don't know, you have a custom application and you just keep the tarball of it there, stuff like that. Um, yeah. Or an FS tab to go with the jail to mount file system.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, it's annoying if you have to pollute the current directory with multiple files per jail. And yeah, you all have to agree on the convention. Is it something like jailname.fstab.com, or is it fstab.jailname? If the jailname doesn't go first, then the sorted listing doesn't show you everything by jail.
Hmm.
The listing gets very long, so just put it in a subdirectory. One of the nice things you can do is you can then have a jail.conf, which opens a jail block, which then includes something else inside the jail block. This is useful because you can keep the jail name in the jail.conf and then the jail specific configuration outside of the jail block so that it is reusable. And that sets you up for breaking up the jail configuration into multiple files, which then get included, and you don't have to copy them around. You can just install them somewhere and then
Sure.
put a symlink in your jail directory. And as long as it is included under the name of the symlink by a glob matching that name, it is active configuration, similar to what was common for a long time with Apache, and it's probably still common among those using Apache, where you have a sites directory and then a
Sure.
sites active directory,
Hmm.
and you just symlink in the currently active site configurations. You can now do the same with jail configuration snippets.
Two quick
But
questions.
according to the jail parser, all of this is a single configuration. It's just split up over multiple files, so you can still use some dependencies between jails. Yes, you have a question,
Yep,
Michael?
a few questions. So one, does it need to end in .conf or could it be .web server, .mail server, whatever you want?
Uh, it could be whatever you
Okay.
want. Just change it.
And I trust it doesn't care if they're actually missing. It just looks for something and
Uh,
moves on.
no, as soon as there is a glob which is not a complete literal, so any kind of wildcard in the glob, it's okay if it matches your file.
Oh,
So
I
it
see.
does.
So
You don't
following the
have to have a
wildcard here.
match for every dot include a
Okay.
line. If the It's only required if um, the path is a pure path literal with no glob special characters. So no question mark, no star, no open brackets.
Hmm.
Then it's a exact match, and that has to match. Otherwise, it's an error for the
Okay.
parser.
Now, should this hack be deprecated or something? What do
Yes.
we know if there are any management tools that are relying on it heavily and they whine
Oh,
like a banshee?
it's even more problematic if there are people directly using jail.conf, which who rely on it, because it was for several years the way to do it, the least bad way.
The least
If
bad
you had
way.
a pure
Okay.
jail.conf jail setup, you would possibly break it up using this hack. And yeah, if you now do that and try to use include, the rc.d script will still find the jail specific configuration, so etc jail.conf.d my jailname.conf.
Yep.
And if that file exists, that jail is started through the jail command by giving the jail command the jail name derived configuration as the only configuration. So it doesn't know the global configuration. So stuff like dependencies
Oh,
doesn't work.
interesting.
You can't inherit default values. One of
Uh,
the things,
Wait, so just to be
uh,
clear, if you use this, you lose use of the global jail.conf by using jail.conf.d?
uh, then there is no global view. Every jail which has this file name pattern
Hmm.
in its configuration file. So if you have jail.conf.d slash myjailname.conf,
Yeah,
if that path exists, it is used as the sole configuration file for that jail by the jail rc.d script.
I see. Okay.
So if you start to run the jail-c with the jail name, then it will work. If you do service jail start name of jail, it won't work
Oh,
correctly.
goodness. Okay. I see.
Yeah, it's a foot gun,
Yeah.
but we can't remove it because People innocently depend on this.
Well, do we know the extent of that? Is there a very popular manager that uses it, or who
Not
knows?
just
I don't know.
managers, just
Yeah,
people
just
using
people.
jail.conf directly
Hmm.
without a third-party manager of imports.
Fair enough.
Just someone who runs vanilla jails.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah.
Understood.
So,
Anything else on that topic?
so the only way to get rid of that with an acceptable fallout would be to give a whole major release line where it's a warning.
Mm-hmm.
So in 16 we could have a warning for it, and then in 17 we could get rid of it, possibly.
Hmm.
But we can also just keep it, warn people about it, and heavily recommend that you use jail.d
Yeah.
instead of jail.conf.d.
Yep. Strange. No one
We,
proposed it for 15, but what do I know? Welcome, Rod.
yeah, it was a bit too early. It was discussed at one point in one of the calls about what should go into 15, uh, but people argued against it because it doesn't really hurt unless you really want to use that path.
I see. Cool.
Every other path is safe, just that one.
Yeah.
But the problem is that there are guides telling people to use this if they want to use their jails and have one config file per jail.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it gets you. It gets you one independent configuration file for each jail. Yeah, with includes, you can also now kind of do something different. Previously, the only way to get default values, for example, for the path of a jail, would be to define it outside of a jail block. And then, because the jail.conf configuration language is a bit unusual in that verbal references are lazily evaluated.
Okay.
So you can set something, for example, the jail root directory path to the name before the name is defined. So in a global parameter assignment, you can set path equals slash jail slash dollar name
Mm.
before the name is bound. As long as all references to dollar path are from within a jail, at least the last reference is triggered from it. So you can even have this recursively. You could then have, I don't know, some value derived from that. Not that I can think of one where it would make sense, but you could define a custom variable
Mm-hmm.
to dollar path, and that would also work, but you can only use it within a jail block. So otherwise it will complain that there's a unbound name to be dereferenced. And that is how you traditionally set default values for jails. You set them earlier and then you optionally override them a few times.
I see. Okay.
In 14 and newer, you can also include a file from inside the jail. So you could have something like in your jail block, you put dot include slash etc slash jail dot default dot conf or something
Okay.
to get the default values that way. And then you can even partition them into setup values you want. Um, yeah, so now
Okay.
there are multiple ways to skin that cat.
Yes, it's a shame we didn't start the deprecation for the problematic way to skin that cat. And keep in mind that phrase refers to a caterpillar tractor, not a poor little feline. Welcome, Rod. Do you have any topics? Not this time. Cool. So that's your chat there.
Am
Um,
I muted?
you are not muted. Welcome. Well, I wanted to touch on one little topic here. Jan, keeping it up your alley, I saw this post, I believe, from Vermaden about the outer jail notion, where it's a minimalist system that allows you to decrypt root encryption using Geli, and then I think reroutes. I'd be curious if this could be done with OpenZFS native encryption, but I'm glad that someone's looking at this and formalized it. So let me just scroll down the moment my browser lets me scroll down. Here we go. Install script for remote unlockable FreeBSD. Come on,
Okay,
scroll.
this
Oh,
looks very
silly
much
thing.
like the stuff I've done with rerouting.
Bingo. That's why I thought of you.
Yeah,
Zoom out here.
so the trick here is that you have a system and you don't have a trustworthy system console. So
Mm-hmm.
the system console is either something
Yep.
provided by a hoster where we can roll a KVM to your server, and then you get to use the same KVM as thousands of people before you,
Mm-hmm.
or just it's your, I don't know, it's some old laptop you repurpose as a home server and you want to reboot it remotely,
Mm-hmm.
but you also want to have disk encryption. And you don't have KVM access to it or serial access to put in the root decryption password. In that case, you can have kernel, bootloader, and userland unencrypted. It boots far enough that you can log in, normally via SSH.
Yep.
Once you're SSH'd in, you decrypt the disk, be that loading ZFS dataset keys or using uh, um, Jelly disk encryption or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
PBDE is finally gone, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. And with that in place, you now have your disk decrypted, but you're still running your unencrypted system you booted.
Mm-hmm.
FreeBSD has a little known feature called rerouting, where you can configure the kernel environment variables for a file system to use as the root file system, where basically as if you were the bootloader,
Yep.
and then you run the reboot command with the -r flag so that instead of rebooting the system, it shuts the system down, kills all processes, and mounts all file systems. But instead of rebooting or powering off, it mounts a new root file system, runs a new init, and boots again without rebooting the kernel.
Yeah.
So
Very
the
cool.
disks are still decrypted. Yeah, that means you have basically two user lens, one of them in plain text, one of them encrypted.
Yep.
It's what Vermaden here calls outer. Whoever wrote that, no,
Yeah,
it's
the author.
ETMU or however you're
Yep,
supposed to
yep.
pronounce it. I've done something similar without proper automation. You need just a shell script you can run to jelly attach this, set the kernel environment variable, and you can get a bit fancier, write a small rc.d script to remember the old root file system and mount it under /plain or something,
I see, for updates and such.
or here /auto or whatever.
Yeah, cool.
One of
Auto,
the
yeah,
things
right
you have
there.
to think about is that you now have one kernel and two user lands because you don't really need the normal encrypted kernel there, so it's probably best to have /boot be a symlink to your unencrypted /boot. So you would mount
Yep,
it, let's say, under /plaintext, and then you have a symlink from /boot to
yep,
/plaintext/boot, so that at runtime you can find kernel modules.
yep.
The attack first surface now is that okay, anything in /boot is unencrypted and thereby unprotected from active attacks, but unless you put something sensitive there, you're not going to leak your file content.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be a very useful setup, for example, for just compliance with data protection regulation, because there is no personally identifiable or even worse medical information in
Right.
/boot. So
Right.
you can safely allow a remote hoster to touch the disk and replace a broken disk
Sure.
because they never gain access to the plain text. Um, you can RMA disks without worrying about it, so you don't have to shred them because everything sensitive is always encrypted. if you have to worry about either meta attacks or something like that, then it's not good protection because you're remotely rebooting the system in, at that point, untrusted physical environment. So the
Yep.
attacker could just be standing next to the system and quickly change something during the boot phase, or just replace the kernel with a backdoor one or something, and you wouldn't really notice.
Yep. Okay, well, that's a whole different conversation,
Yeah.
but I do like that people are thinking, I suppose your data should probably be on a separate encrypted, you know,
Not
pool,
just your
either
data, but also
data
your
sets either way. But
runtime operating
yeah,
system.
okay, fair enough. And I suppose your applications also. So I'm glad they're doing this. I'm curious if this could be institutionalized and if anyone's doing it correctly with, say, just elegantly and well documented with ZFS native encryption. Those are my concerns, and I'm glad someone's working
It
on that.
works with ZFS native encryption. That's no
Perfect.
longer a problem. In
Excellent.
13, it was because you
Ah,
would panic the kernel because during the rerouting, it would try to import the already imported pool again,
oh, interesting.
and then would explode because, yeah, oh no, I'm trying to import a live pool. It would trigger a panic in the kernel, but that panic wasn't needed because it already knows that, oh, I have that, I'm the kernel having that pool imported. There
Okay.
was just an overly cautious check there, which was unreachable until people used rerouting. So then you had to reroute through some kind of other file system like memory disk file system.
Okay, cool. Thank you for
Um,
that.
that's no longer needed. So you can now have one pool for both your encrypted and your unencrypted userland
Yep.
and all your encrypted data.
Excellent. So I want the world to know about that reroute ability and how it relates to, say, compliance
So
systems.
the problem with doing it is that you have to keep both the unencrypted kernel, the unencrypted userland, and the encrypted userland
Hmm.
patched. So you have to think about it during system
Yep.
updates and patches and during upgrades, of course. But other than that, it just works.
Nice.
You just have to know that you have to run something like FreeBSD update on both, then everything is fine.
Or get notified that the system
Or do
rebooted
it with
against your
package base,
knowledge.
that
You
also
have to run
works.
in there. Yep. Yep. Yep.
What is the installation is the annoying part, which looks like what this script, outer base install, is supposed to take care of. If we ever want to make this supported mainstream configuration for casual users,
Yeah.
it would have to go into bsdinstall. So that just like you can pick, I don't know, the UEFI and MBR, you just say, or the disk encryption as a checkbox, you would have then an option of this, whatever we want to call it
Whatever,
then.
exactly. Inner, outer, you
Yeah,
name it. Yep.
have to
Yep.
find a catchy name for it.
Absolutely. But not too catchy.
And once you have that, you could just enable it. And maybe if we have wherever the mount point for the unencrypted system is then, let's say, slash plain.
Hmm.
If that exists, the tools like FreeBSD update, if it gets rewritten in terms of package base, would just keep the other one updated as well. So that when you're installing patches to one, you're installing
Yep.
it to both.
Oh, that's a good point. Synchronizing that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Maybe even
I'll
with
let
boot
that
environment
load.
integration, that you can treat them as a kind of, you could put one under the other and then, yeah, make the ECTL know about that. But yeah,
Terrible idea. Could you simply symlink the unencrypted binaries into the encrypted paths so
huh?
that you truly only have one, so that you
No, at that point, you're
canonically.
defeating the purpose
Okay. Oh, because
because
if you
now you
modify
have an
it, you're pushing
encrypted
it in.
collection of symlinks to
Yep.
unencrypted files.
Sure.
At that
Okay.
point, you could just directly run the unencrypted userland and only have certain data directories encrypted. Let's say on your database server,
Yep.
you
As one
only
typically
encrypt
does.
VARDB Postgres or whatever, or VARDB
Yep. Yep.
MySQL.
Yep.
That is also possible, but now you have to worry about is my certificate on an encrypted or an unencrypted
Correct. No.
location?
Correct. Correct.
What happens to my log messages and so on?
Yep. Agreed. So let's
It's
save
much
that
more
for the
convenient
compliance
to
call.
make encryption something which is on by default on your file system instead of something you have to opt in for each location.
Great. So I came across this link. I'm always watching for, say, progress on Samba in jails as an application. And I believe it's Neil shared this about a Samba AD server, and it's relatively up to date. So if anything, I want that on people's collective radar if they care about Samba sharing. It's a bit minimalistic, but I know Daniel's been active on that. We've kind of been helping each other. So they're the
So
Samba Active Directory controller. Yes, Jan, anything on that topic?
I just wanted to chime in and say,
Yeah.
yeah, basic file serving works in a jail even with alias networking. Um, I haven't tried to run it as a domain controller because I'm not that much of a masochist.
Ha. Works well in a jail, even with alias. ALIS network. Cool. So that's for like long term. In a jail, lost some space there. So several of us have been looking at package base and BSD install and all that. Jan, off the top of your head, do you know what the minimum OS is needed to support third-party package installations? Should one have an issue that I think I resolved, but do you think FreeBSD runtime is enough to have the directories for, say, any port-based package to drop in prior to doing the
Um,
rest of the OS?
Probably isn't. You definitely need the package manager.
True, but if it's managed from another system that's creating
Yeah,
it, it
okay.
might be fine.
If you need, then you can need even less because the executable should be already linked by the time it enters the jail. So that's why you can use package with the dash dash jail
Yep,
to bootstrap an almost empty jail. So what is needed for the package manager to work within a jail, if invoked from the host, is you need the repository configurations
yep, definitely.
for the ports, kernel modules. Okay, kernel modules
Yep.
are not needed in a jail, but
No, no, but yeah.
for ports and for base
Base. Yep.
packages if you want to use them.
Yep.
And for the package manager to be then able to fetch, it needs a user database. So
Oh,
master.parseID indexed
okay.
into a parseID file and the read-only database files, pwd.db and spwd.db. And if you want to fetch via HTTPS, you need the properly indexed root certificate list. Um, and for any kind of name lookup via DNS, you need a resource conf. Beware that in 15, this changed. FreeBSD would historically, until 15.0, treat the all zeros IP address, so 0.0.0.0,
Mm-hmm.
as an alias for the loopback. And because there is no address configured via resource conf, the solver would try to connect to 0.0.0.0.0.
Yeah.
So that then worked if you had a resolver on the local host running, like Unbound.
Mm-hmm.
This no longer works on 15. It still works for IPv6 because there it's kind of standardized that it has to behave like that.
Okay.
Um, for IPv4, there's an argument that, oh, what if you accidentally didn't fill out the address and it was zero, do you really want to talk to some local host stuff because it could be an attack vector? There's a sysctl you can set to 1 to restore the traditional behavior, which is still in place on Linux. So yeah, I don't think this was a problem that needed fixing. It's more of an annoyance that it no longer works.
But you
But
can
it
re-enable
only
it with a
worked by
syscontrol.
accident for some things, like you don't need to resolve conf if you have a DNS resolver or proxy on localhost.
Okay.
Now you do.
Interesting.
Um, yeah,
Okay. Thank you for that.
so that's all you need. So you need your resolve conf, you need your root CA list if you want to use HTTPS. You need the user database so that package doesn't complain that
Yep.
the users are unknown when unpacking files out of order.
Oh, interesting. Ba.
And the big problem is that package fetch tries to drop privileges to nobody and fails if nobody is not known. So you can't have a missing user database in one package fetch. You could have just root and nobody in there, but then you would get a bunch of warnings during bootstrapping, and you would get a etc master.parseID.package safe you have to clean up after bootstrapping the jail. If you just copy the master.parseID from the distribution, uh, in before you do that, index it, then it works.
Okay.
I've automated that via jail.conf. It's a bit annoying. It's possible to do all of it safely by running the necessary commands like char and w underscore mkdb um, as jail processes and not just telling them to work on a jail where you could potentially have a
Hmm.
malicious absolute symlink or something like that.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well, that's a perfect
I
segue to the next
just need the time
question.
to write this up because I've automated it.
Okay. Well, speaking of automation, BSD install is slash was automatable, and yesterday Antranig concluded that the jail operation should be compatible with non-interactive, but that somehow failed over the last few months, and it appears to be a bug that you can't have both jail and non-interactive. So he and I are investigating in that because obviously BSD install is a canonical FreeBSD installer. And when creating things like jails or VM images or you name it, gee, it's doing all of the appropriate housekeeping, but that housekeeping is not super well documented, which is exactly what you described with like the password database update, the services database update, the creation of entropy and other things that I've been documenting through DWatch. Thank you very much. So if anyone has a secret cache of great documentation on BSD install and what it does and broadly what it means to have a correctly configured, fresh and best practices FreeBSD system, don't be shy. Um, so uh there you have it. I think this was from the recent calls. And on the topic, Jan, of back to the whole conf.d hack that Antranig came up with, he's saying, gee, it was finally made a first-class citizen with BSD tree. So that's a conversation to be had when the time comes. Where did that go? I'll put it here just for completeness. Thank you very much. Um, and I don't know if anyone here has cared about, say, building VM images potentially with, say, well, package base is now supported by the release tools, but the release tools have a whole bunch of failure equals true, and so debugging it is a nightmare. Welcome to my world. I've plowed a whole bunch of hours into that, and I'm about to be ready to show off what it can do. I do have creation of boot environments working with, say, 16 from a 15 host, and jails as simply a test. and all the things. Anyway, Jan, any news on your Chelsea discoveries where with SR-IOV you can actually have the switch, the high performance switch you want for, say, jails and VMs,
So
leveraging the heck out of your
I
NIC?
oh, by the way, we just have a new batch of FreeBSD security advisories
Oh,
coming
do
in,
we? Oh,
apparently.
goody. Yes, okay, cool. What's broken now?
Let's have a look.
Okay, so save it for the
Um,
security call, but that said, anything new on your Chelsea
yes.
discoveries or automation? You mentioned
So
wanting to have
I
a
don't know if
control
I mentioned
backplane
it
or
in.
control plane rather. Sorry. Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned in this call. I think I did mention it last week. I have solved the problem that host in jail can't talk to each other, and jails can't talk to each other, but you can
Hmm.
only speak to the outside world, and only the outside world can speak to your jails. Turns out that the default behavior of the Chelsea driver is to not use the built-in hardware switching engine in the network card. Instead, each interface is independent and directly sends everything out over the wire. Um, yeah,
Okay. So you
the
mentioned
fix
wanting a
is
management
already in the
interface. Yep.
minutes because I put
Yep.
it
It is
there.
correct. Nope, that is correct. So based upon that
Um,
conversation, do you have anything on the notion of managing that configuration?
well, I have one gotcha you still have to watch out for, and that is if you destroy the VNet enabled jail while the interface is inside of the jail, instead of giving the interface back and destroying the jail will get stuck in the dying state and will never
Right.
die.
Right. Right. Right.
And the workaround for that is to configure the jail to be persistent so that it doesn't get accidentally garbage collected when you kill the last process, and then have a pre-stop script which runs inside the jail and just gives, sorry, which runs on the host to take the interface out of the jail with ifconfig minus vnet
Hmm.
on the interface to take it out before the jail gets destroyed.
Got
That
it.
could be necessary, but it makes it a non-issue
Okay. Well, thank
other
you for
than
going down
for
that road.
static reasons. The last remaining problem I have found is that um, on the SR-IOV devices, for some reason, stateless IPv6 auto configuration doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
Um, on the Chelsea virtual interfaces, which is a driver-specific feature, there it works. I've yet to debug it. When I run RT-sol in the foreground with debugging turned on, it just looks as if the router solidification requests are sent out, but no advertisement is ever seen. So it's something with multicast traffic delivery to the SR-IOV devices. I
Rodney,
don't know
are
if
you
there's an
following
easy,
that and
easy
might
fix
you
for
have any
that.
thoughts? Just thinking out loud.
I'm kind
Uh,
of fly on the wall mode, and I didn't hear what
okay,
was
no
going on.
worries. Oh, when doing SR-IOV local switching, for lack of a better term, on a Chelsea card, Jan is finding that IPv6 is having, was it a multicast issue? Jan, you can probably describe it best.
So um, if you have a VNet enabled jail, you can just tell it to please use stateless IPv6 auto configuration via router advertisements and requests to get an IPv6 address for the jail derived from the MAC address of the network interface. But the problem is that the jail never receives any multicast traffic for the router advertisements. And if I try to ask the router, sorry, if I try to ask the router for a router advertisement, explicitly, I still don't see any router advertisements. So yeah, the multicast router advertisements are not delivered to inside the jail.
My
I
my
don't
guess,
know why.
my guess would be it's a multicast. It's in the multicast receive path. That packet is being consumed by the host and never passed to the jail.
Yeah,
Would
something
that would
like
be my
that.
that would be my guess. I think I don't know if SR-IOV even does that even come into play. It's
Yes,
just
it does because of my configuration.
because,
Because
but I'm thinking the same problem will occur on a non-SR-IOV setup. Anytime you have if you're trying to run any multicast protocol inside of a jail that expects to be able to receive multicast packets that may be consumed by the kernel, your jail's not going to receive them because I think they're always going to be consumed by the kernel. There isn't
that depends.
there
I
isn't
had it
anything that
working.
I can think of in the kernel that says we're going to deliver this multicast packet to multiple VNets.
The way to do it right now is you create a bridge,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
Bridge will do it, but
SR-IOV is the hardware accelerated equivalent of a bridge. There is a hardware switch built into the network card.
I know what SR-IOV is, and I
It
don't
should,
Well, let Rod finish. Just I know we
I,
have
I
yeah,
don't again,
an
I do
ocean to
not
cross.
think this comes into play in the problem, though that with SR-IOV, your jail is actually using a separate interface. So the kernel shouldn't be looking at those packets.
yeah. What I suspect is happening is that the bridge in the network card does not correctly handle multicast. DHCP
That could very well be too.
and broadcasts work, but the IPv6 multicast traffic does not work. I suspect, but didn't have the time to properly debug it, that the switch built into the network card does not properly handle the multicasted traffic, and only a single copy of that multicast is delivered to the primary physical function instead of to the right virtual functions.
Well, that should be fairly easy to verify.
Uh, The symptoms agree with that, but so if we run TCP dump inside the jail on an SR-IOV device in non-path remote, so that it's available as a network interface for VNet, assign it to the jail, run TCP dump in the jail. I don't see any router advertisements. So that part that I don't get the traffic delivered into the VNet enabled jail is confirmed, but why? I can only guess right now.
Yeah,
So you did try dumping. Go ahead, Rod.
I think we need we need something real simple that's just popping a multicast packet out on the physical network once a second. MCAS ping is what I would call it. So that you're not route advertisements, depending on your configuration, you're not going to see them very often, but it would be much easier to debug this if we had something that I run OSPF, so I've got OSPF packets going on my network
I
once a
could,
second. So I use that to debug cast trees. Um,
I could just use a
do
ping
what
to the.
could we?
Let him finish. Rod's brainstorming. Let him finish the
Uh,
process.
No,
That's
no,
the
you go
magic.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
I could just use a ping to the all hosts on link multicast group.
I don't think ping. Yeah, we can ping 224.
There is a
This is really old.
reserved link scoped all hosts on link multicast group in IPv6. It exists.
4.0.0.5
Yep.
or 4. I just don't know if. Oh, all right. Let me get to a local session. I'm having network issues.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cobbler shoes.
0.0.4.
So this is the group. It's all nodes
Yep, that's
address.
it. F. Okay.
I think that's 004, isn't it? 224.004.
In the chat, he posted
That's
FF01.
004 is for DVMRP routers. Oh, sorry, that's the non-local. Yeah, that's so this is the route one.
Oh,
Um, all nodes address. So if I do a ping 6,
Well, I don't know
and
why you're
now
using 6. Don't use 6. 224
huh?
is it? Oh, you're using the IPv6 multi. Yeah, I don't.
That should be received by every jail server now.
I don't know what Ethernet MAC that gets translated into. I don't know.
We should see if we dump with TCP dump with Ethernet headers. So now I will change my jail configuration.
Having such problems. I got something. Somebody's blasting 2.4 gigahertz. All right, I can't do any debug right now.
uh, Mark, tell us
Let's see.
about anarchist
Yeah, you can
BSD while you're
ping
doing
will in
that.
fact send to 224.004,
That's cool.
which is the V4, but that I mean that should just produce a multicast Ethernet frame. And is that what's gonna happen when we receive? Yeah, I guess if you don't have any V4 configured, it's not gonna get past IP input.
I just came across that and I just figured it was
Oh,
something
cool.
to watch.
Sure. Well, let's take a peek. So Rod, you need 4 traffic to do 6?
No,
Okay.
no.
I
What
misunderstood.
the? Okay, now I'm totally confused because it just worked for some
It just
reason,
worked. Okay.
but
You
it used to not work.
uh
What? Did the ping establish some kind of state because the device responded?
Well, like I said, I don't know what ping 6 is going to do with that link scope address, how that gets translated into a multicast packet and what it exactly looks like going out on the device interface. Could it be that the SR-IOV has a bad multicast receive filter?
Could be multiple things, but now my SR-IOV device has a IPv6 address auto assign, which yeah.
Yeah, but it's multi. You
Yeah,
gotta.
it immediately gets a response. I don't know what changed.
hmm.
Okay, I have to test this some more before I can recommend anyone rely on this.
Cool. Well, you have it working, yet not sure how. Maybe it tickled assist control. I don't know. Uh, Keep us posted.
Hey,
Ah,
Jan,
right.
Here's something I just in Googling out SR-IOV multicast. Well, SR-IOV provides near-native performance for VMs by bypassing the virtual switch. Multicast often necessitates enabling promiscuous mode on the VFs.
I haven't
So maybe
tickled
it just
that.
Let him
started
finish.
working. Maybe it just started working because you're TCP dumping, which enabled promiscuous mode on the interface. So rerun your TCP dump with promiscuous disabled, and I bet it breaks.
I'm no longer running TCP dump, and RT-Sol still worked.
But he's saying try disabling it to see if that's in
No,
fact the
that does the
case,
same
right?
thing.
Okay, it
He's
does.
not running
Okay.
dump, so the interface should no longer be in promiscuous mode. But that's another clue to get us at. They're actually saying that SR-IOV breaks on multicast in some instances.
Yeah. So there is an SR-IOV setting to allow promiscuous mode to the virtual machines.
Yeah, that's different. That allows the virtual machine. Oh, that allows the virtual machine to enable or disable promiscuous mode, and generally that's not a, that's not enabled. But I don't know how that works on a VF.
So there are no virtual machines involved in my configuration because I'm not passing through the devices to Beehive guests, but I'm
No, but they're still
configuring them to be.
you're still passing virtual functions, VFs, not VMs, VFs,
Okay, yeah,
virtual functions.
yes. So I haven't configured the promiscuous mode
Yeah,
allowed.
I'm reading further in this. There's something called VF promiscuous mode. VFs can be configured to enter a promiscuous mode, allowing them to receive unmatched and multicast traffic that reaches the physical port. So there may be a flag that you need to turn on to be able to get route advertisement to work.
Yeah, what's interesting is that broadcast still works, so and DHCP works because of that. But given that broadcast traffic is required for IPv4 as part of ARP and so on, and that's probably a special case and not treated as promiscuous required.
Yeah, I mean, while broadcast is a degenerative case of multicast, the filtering mechanisms are very different. There is no quote unquote broadcast filter. There is a multicast filter function.
Yeah, I mean, in some network cards, it's implemented as the broadcast MAC address is one of the ones you configure as active, but
yeah, further reading leads me to without proper management, handling multicast in an SR-IOV environment can be difficult to manage from an orchestration standpoint.
yep.
So it sounds like there may be something within the SR-IOV design that's preventing you from receiving those multicast packets, and it's intentional by design.
So
Do we have anything called virtual function promiscuous mode? I don't think we have any
we have
bit.
for some drivers, but not for this.
Okay.
Rod, do you have a link that describes that canonically?
No, because it's a Google search
It's just a
results.
summary. Okay, cool. No worries.
Yeah, it's just just Google for. Let me see if I can get this over to this machine. What the heck happened to that search?
So I found the following on an Intel network card. So on an Intel network card, you can configure the default MAC address, if the guest is allowed to change the MAC address, and then the allow promiscuous setting to turn it on and off. But on Chelsea, that's not configurable. There, the output looks like this.
You wrote some drivers have multicast promiscuous mode. I don't think that's
This is the output from IOV-CTL. I put it in the chat.
In the
I
doc
see it.
too.
Yeah.
So we can see that on an Intel 10 gig card, this is configurable per virtual function. On Chelsea, such a setting does not exist. Again, I don't know why it suddenly started working. For days and days, it didn't work whenever I found time to mess with it.
Yeah. I have seen similar issues when trying to debug stuff, and it had to do with running BPF or not running BPF. Would cause the multicast packets to get received. Because once it got put in promiscuous mode,
Yeah. Could be that I'm afraid that my ping did something like, for example, it told the widget, oh yeah, this device should be part of this multicast group if it had some kind of multicast filtering in the NIC.
did the ping cause an IGMP group membership join to get?
I don't know, and I don't know how the learning logic is implemented in the network card. I'm afraid that someone is trying to be too clever by half.
Are they IGMP snooping?
Would be MLD, but yes.
I'm gonna
Multicast listener discovery or something. The IPv6 equivalent of IGMP. Again, I don't know if they're snooping it or not. I would have to read at least the driver sources. If I'm unlucky, I would have to find some leaked data sheets or something.
They say usually the V switch in a SR-IOV card bypasses IGMP snooping.
Yeah. So now I restarted the jail and it now works. Now let me stop it again. Switch to from the virtual interface, which is this Chelsea specific way to do multiple network interfaces on the same physical function. Let me now switch to a RS4 device. Sorry, to a SR-IOV device. Yep. And I still have an IPv6 address. I don't know what changed. Damn it. I probably would have to reboot the host and potentially the switch. And I don't want to do that mid-call.
Well, it sounds like you have at least come up with new questions to ask.
Check. Am I on?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Check if your NIC drivers, e.g. Intel IXGBE, NVIDIA Mellanox MLX5, supports hardware-based multicast filtering for VFs. So there is this specific functionality in some of the NIC cards that supports multicast filtering at the virtual function layer.
maybe I can
Let
do
him finish.
something with.
It could be possible that FreeBSD has misimplemented that, or it could be that the hardware NIC vendor firmware has misimplemented that. If using NIC paths to ensure the VM properly handles IGMP join leave messages, though I mean, what do we do in V6? Do we still use IGMP?
IPv6 has a protocol which does the same thing IGMP does, and it's part of ICMP-v6. It's a multicast listener discovery.
MLD, yeah, okay.
There's version 1 and 2, and you can basically map version 1 of MLD to IGMP v2, and then MLD v2 is IGMP v3 equivalent. So yeah.
So what do we find about, gosh, my iKey must not be working. MLD and SR-IOV. You're not on a Mellanox card, right?
It's a Child COT 520.
Not getting very far with that.
It can do a bunch of things apparently, including a stateless firewall built into the NIC,
Yeah.
total TCP offloading, and so on.
You tickled something. Don't know.
Yeah. I have
Well,
to get back to you guys. Go.
anything else at this time?
Nope.
Katya, Mark, last call. I hope you
Not from
enjoyed that. Go ahead,
yeah.
Katya.
Yeah, no question for me. Thank
Cool.
you.
Awesome. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining. I hope you found that valuable, but in a way, this idea of leveraging the heck out of the NIC is a bit of a holy grail for high performance VM and jail networking. So I'm glad, Jan, you're exploring this and asking the right questions, and you are uniquely gifted to explore. Would someone like the honors?
Like and subscribe.
Thank you, Jan. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.